So after probably 10 years, I went to a Sarah Jakes Roberts concert in Dallas, Texas, Woman Evolve. And on the very last day of the conference, she got up and spoke and said, God said that he's going to birth things out of some of you that you've been delaying. And knowing some of you were supposed to, and she started mentioning things. And one of them was, for those that have delayed writing that book, God said, now is the time. And I was like, oh my goodness, really, God? And I said, if this is really meant for me, then you open the door and pave the way so that I can get this done.
Breaking the silence, taking the dive in. Nikki pulling strings like she playing the violin. Made in his likeness, radiant vibrance. Give them all glory, ain't no way to deny it. She gon' make you laugh, she gon' stimulate your mind. Making things shake, she ain't in no wasting time. They can come close but can't imitate the grind. Got a different way to illustrate and innovate designs. BCS podcast, gotta watch that. Teaching us the game, that mean Nikki got class. If you watch it once, you gon' wanna stop back. This an opportunity that you cannot pass. Unleash your inner voice, cause better days coming. Better days, get ready for better days. Better days, better days. Better days, get ready for better days. Better days, better days.
Welcome back to another episode of Breaking the Silence podcast, the podcast where I share stories that empower, inspire, and help you find your voice. I am your host, Arthur Nick Nicole, and each week I sit down with some incredible guests who are turning their pain into purpose and making an impact in this world today. So today I'm honored to welcome Miss Kassaundra Hester. She is an author residing in North Carolina and is a part of the Distinguished Authors Guild with Miss Gina Gasson. So that's all I'm going to give y'all. I'm going to let her tell her story. So after her countdown, please welcome this amazing woman to the platform. Hey.
Hello.
So tell them a little bit about you that I haven't already said about you.
Wow, there's a lot about me that you haven't said, but we'll keep it short and simple. Born and raised in Iowa to a mother that was a strong, powerful woman. And I had a large family, 7 brothers and sisters. And I was raised in a strict background, Pentecostal church. So those who knew who Pentecostal was, my mother was a minister and of the church. So she was heavily involved. I'm right now is a mother that resides in North Carolina. I have 2 boys myself. And believe it or not, I work for a major university in finance and thought book writing was not anywhere in my repertoire, but now it is as an author.
So now you got to tell me, when did you fall in love with the pen and paper? Because, most people have the story of, I journaled or, something like that. So what brought you to the point where, I love to write and this is what I want to do?
Well, you know what? I don't think I had ever gotten there yet. I'm a math person when it comes to books, strictly math. And it wasn't until probably 10 years ago, I just got this premonition or some feeling that my mom, who's deceased now, like I needed to tell her story. And I knew that I wanted to tell it, but because I wasn't a writer and I didn't know where to start, it kind of scared me. And so I just kept pushing it off, kept pushing it off. And then every so often, that niche just kept coming at me. Just like, you need to write this story. People need to hear this story. So after probably 10 years, I went to a Sarah Jakes Roberts concert in Dallas, Texas, Woman Evolve. And on the very last day of the conference, she got up and spoke and said, God said that he's going to birth things out of some of you that you've been delaying. And knowing some of you were supposed to, and she started mentioning things. And one of them was, for those that have delayed writing that book, God said, now is the time. And I was like, oh my goodness, really, God? And I said, if this is really meant for me, then you open the door and pave the way so that I can get this done. And she said, by this time next year, you're going to have that book written. And I said, okay, Lord, if it's meant, then you will make sure that I get this done. So I came home back to North Carolina and decided to say, okay, let me get a pen and figure out how I'm going to start that. And lo and behold, exactly 1 year later, I finished that book. So I knew it was a purposeful moment that I needed to get that done.
Wow, look at God.
Yes,
It was meant to be.
it was very much meant to be.
So now tell me a little bit more about the book. Now, don't tell everything because we got to get them to buy
Right.
the book to read it for themselves. But just a little bit about the book that will make them want to read it.
Well, I think people hear a lot of stories of memoirs about family members and so forth. My mom's story, which was totally, and it may relate to a lot of folks, but she went through a lot of abuse. And I'm not talking just physical abuse, but emotional abuse, financial abuse. She was pretty much a single mom raising 8 kids by herself, but that did not stop her from serving God and serving her purpose that God had laid out for her. And the thing about it that makes her stand out is because many individuals in the church and outside of the church did not know what she was experiencing, going through, because her purpose outweighed her pain. And she served God, and she made that the forefront of her story and her life and her legacy, so that she didn't want people to be down and looking about on her of what she was going through. She has blessed so many lives and touched so many folks, in spite of everything that she was going through. And that made her legacy so outstanding. And that's what I want people to know about, that no matter what you're going through, God's purpose for you is greater than whatever you're going through.
Amen. Amen. 8
Mhm.
children as a single mother.
Well, she was married to my step, and she was married to my father, and they divorced when I was a baby after I was born, and then she married my stepfather, and but that neither marriage turned out to be what she thought. And as you read the book, you'll understand what she endured. So, in essence, even though she was married, it was as if she was single. So,
Felt that. I felt that.
mhm.
Makes sense. So, man, wow. Now, I know this was your first book, writing, but how did you know which story was right? You went on and on and on, tell the story on and on. So how did you know when that was complete?
Well, it was so challenging because when you're taking all of the years that you have to consider, you don't want to write a dictionary. You want to really hit the high points. And to break that down, to really have folks focus on what I wanted them to focus on. I didn't want them to focus on the negative. I wanted them to focus on the positive. And when I got to the point where, all the examples or the stories that I saw and could remember, that really hit the points that would be impactful, of what I wanted folks to get out of the book. When I had a couple individuals read it, and the feedback that I got from them was exactly what I wanted to have them have received from it. That there told me that I knew the book was done, because every element that I wanted to achieve is what they gave on the feedback. So,
Wow. Now, I'm sure you probably faced some challenges along the way. So what challenges did you face, as a writer, and how did they strengthen your voice after writing that book?
Well, the one of the first challenges I had was how was I going to present this to my family, my brothers and sisters? Because when there's eight of us, it's like this is my version of the memoir because we all have our own version of what we went through and how we interpret it. So I wanted them to accept that, hey, I may have seen it through a different lens, so it's not right or wrong. It's just my version. So, and then to let them know that I was writing this book because, we all interpret things negativity in a different way. So I didn't want to have this, surprise any brother or sister because, and then take them back to that time. And I wanted them to, it to be upfront. So I did have to reach out to each and every one of them, let them know what I was doing, and get their buy-in so that they were comfortable once they read it. And then some of the other challenges I had was time. I'm a mother and having my own family, it became at times frustrating because it's like, I'm trying to work, my boys have sporting events and trying to figure out all of this, so forth. How am I going to find the time? And for a couple months, I actually put the book down because I was like, look, I can't do this. It's too much. And this is just ironic. This is how I know that it was really meant for me to write this book because after a few months of not even picking it up, because I was just so bogged down with everything else. I had a dream, and in my dream, it was my mother's funeral all over again. And like it just happened, and I was attending that. And it was just the oddest thing. It was like, why am I dreaming this dream? Like I'm going through this funeral all over. And I talked to one of my pastors, and he said, and this is before he even knew, because I didn't tell many people that I was writing the book. He said, God said, you have unfinished business about your mother. You haven't finished. I was just like, oh my goodness. So I knew that was my word to tell me, finish that book. So I had to just force the time in and put things aside to say, okay, what's priority, what's not? I need to finish this book. And then the last part was the biggest challenge was my stepfather. Because, he played a big role in this to be able to call him and have a conversation with him to say, hey, I'm writing this book, and I'm just going to let you know that it's going to be my reality, whether good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not trying to make you look any particular way, but I have to speak, reality to it and get his feedback on that. And to my surprise, he accepted it and said, baby girl, you got to do what you got to do and I'll support it. So that was very, very important for me, for him to support it because of how things playing out in the book. And if you get the book and read it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Not someone of his caliber would accept something of this to be able to tell a story that may not have you looking the best in the end. So
Wow. They say dreams come true. When you have those dreams, they mean something.
yes.
They mean something. And for him to accept the fact of you writing that story, that shows me that it's growth. Like he at that
Mhm.
point he had forgiven himself and he was okay with you telling that story.
Yes, very much. And it was good. I'm not gonna lie, I was afraid to have that conversation with him.
I would have too.
Yes, but it had to have happened. I didn't want anybody caught off guard.
Right.
Mhm.
So now if your book could talk, what would
Mhm.
it say about you as the author?
Wow, it would probably say you are as strong as your mother. For you to take on this challenge and from start to finish, and you put aside your own pride to say, folks that did not know what you endured growing up, my friends, everyone, that it wasn't about your pride, it was about the purpose the book is going to serve and bless others. So this is the greatest thing that I think this book is going to say about me, that I humbled myself and not worried about how others would look at the stories that are being relayed in the book and say this is touching others' lives.
You make
Mhm.
I have to go get this book now. You make it sound so good. I gotta go read this book.
Well, good.
So now, for any first time authors out there that having a hard time just starting up and
Mhm.
trying to get the story out there, most people when they sit down and write, I've noticed, after talking to a lot of different authors across the board, everybody has a different creative space.
Right.
Some have to, have some music to listen to. Somebody riding in the middle of traffic and a thought come to them, or they putting it in their phones. What is your creative process like, and what's some advice you can give those authors to just start
Right.
and get going?
Well, one of the biggest advices would be is to do research. Save your time because I did not have the skill set to do a lot of the things, and that's what was making me so frustrated. And there are folks out there that have the skill set that do editing, that do certain things that you may not be strong in. Go and capitalize on those individuals and use their services and make your lives easier. Starting out on the book is go back and, for me, reminiscing on all of the stories and ideas and concepts that I wanted to take into consideration and jot those down. Because, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh, I forgot about this, and I'd have to write it down because my memory ain't the greatest all the time. But anytime you remember anything, take notes, journal, like you said, and create that outline. Because once you create that outline, you can start filling in the gaps. And that's exactly what I had to do to start remember. And I wasn't afraid to go back to, one of my, whether it was a friend that was a close family friend or a brother or sister, and say, hey, I remember this story, I just want to make sure I got it right, and to see if I was even in the ballpark. So again, it's just going back and utilizing the resources that are available. So any first time author, do the research and, find out what is going to make your life easier so you don't have all those frustrations like I did.
But you remember when, I don't know if you remember this, but back when I was in school, they had the where you draw the circle, and then in
Mhm.
that circle you draw out your ideas, or you have the main point in the middle, and then on the side you have the ideas on the outside.
Yeah.
That helps
Hmm.
to get to keep on that timeline and keep you
Yes.
on subject. I still do that, to be honest. I still use that
Yeah.
method.
Because it's so easy to get, they call that the creeps, the scope creep. And then
Mm,
next thing you know, you're going off on tangents that really this doesn't need to be in there, but you want to tell it all, but sometimes you don't need to tell it all.
right. You gotta omit some things.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, and
Yeah.
that's exactly how it was. So, but because I start off with all these ideas and then having to narrow it down, that was very challenging. Like, no, I don't want to take this out. But in the big scheme of things, it really could be kept left out.
Right, right.
Mhm.
Now this is my least favorite part of the show. The last
Right.
question. So if silence could speak, what story would it tell if your silence could speak?
Wow. If silence could speak, I think the story would probably tell that no matter what, um, you're going to be blessed, whether it is spiritually, um, emotionally. There is so much that people interpret this book and my book. You're going to get out of it because people that have read it and some of the reviews I got on it, it has been something different for everybody. Whether it's forgiveness, whether it is trust, whether it is love, whether it's healing. There's so many different things that silence could, you know, show and bring forth to the forefront for anybody that reads this book, and or even in my life, because in my life I actually got healed from writing this book, and I didn't realize I was holding in so much, and this silence is what opened up the door for me, with my stepfather, with others, and really progressing all of the things that I didn't realize as a young girl from what I saw in growing up with this whole situation, how it impacts, just me alone. So silence was a big deal because I held it all in. So now that it's out there, that silence is able to have a voice.
I don't know about you, but I came from the era where, what goes on in the house stays in the house. Therapy
Yes.
wasn't suggested. You just couldn't speak out the way you want to freely.
Hmm.
So now we're in a time where it's needed. Like now, I finally know what triggers are, what boundaries
Yes.
are. Like it's a lot of things I didn't know until now that you have to set
Yep.
boundaries with people, and some things trigger you to
Some
bring you back
things.
to something that happened years ago.
Yep.
So it's important to get it out, write it, or say it now, because for your
It,
own personal healing.
It really is, and now that I know this healing, now my I have a platform because people are like, "When's the second book coming? When's the second book coming?" I'm just like, because they want to hear more about, well, what happened in your life after all of this as you grew up? How did that impact you? They want to hear that, and then I also start talking to other folks where there's like, what? There's so much of this happening in the church that's very silent that people don't speak about. So now I'm just like, what? My platform is going a whole different direction that I didn't even prepare for, but it's needed. So that silence is definitely something that, it opens the doors when you recognize it.
Right. Now, I said that was the last question, but I can't
Okay.
leave this out. How does it feel to be nominated for the Distinguished Authors Guild?
Um, you know what? I got to say that I am blessed, and it feels really, really great. First time author, and such a inspiring story. And I think that's why I feel so great because, for God to push me and nudge me to finally get this done, and then for it to be recognized by the Distinguished Authors Guild, I'm excited about it and I'm really looking forward to it. So, yes, I cannot, this is God's favor.
You know what? I always say that favor. But I said, tell me,
Mhm.
keep praying, because when your parents pray for you and grandparents pray for you, that's favor over your life. If God is
Yes.
in it, nothing can fail.
Yes. Yep. And
So
I'm
now
from a
I'm
whole generation of
exactly,
prayers.
exactly. So now I'm gonna pass the mic to you. So after the countdown, it's gonna be you up here. You can tell them how to find your book, purchase your book, all the good stuff, and what's coming up next for you, because we need another book. So after
Okay.
the countdown, it's gonna be on you.
Okay.
What's up, everybody? First, I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting Breaking the Silence. Because without you, none of this would be possible. None of it. See, Breaking the Silence started off with my voice, me coming out of my shell, me finding me, and doing something I should have done a long time ago. But then as time went by, I was like, you know what? There's some amazing people out here doing amazing things that I want to shine the light on. So that's why you are here. So thank you so much for being a part of Breaking the Silence and continuing to break the silence for me. But now I got to ask you to do me a favor. Real quick. Can you share this episode with somebody that resonates with, and make sure you do two more things. Subscribe and turn your notifications on so you don't miss another episode. So let's get back into this episode.
Hi, this is Kassaundra Hester, author of Yet Will I Trust Him, a Sedonia Roland memoir. First of all, I want to say thank you to author Nikki Nicole for hosting me on Breaking the Silence. I really, really am grateful to have the opportunity to share my story on the first book that I've written. Again, the book is Yet Will I Trust Him, a Sedonia Roland memoir, which can be purchased on bookbaby.com or on amazon.com. And what I have in store after this first story on my mother's life, I'm looking to write my second story, which then picks up on how I became the young lady that I am today and how I was impacted by her life growing up on this. And then also, I am looking to spread on my platform of abuse in the church, whether it's physical abuse, mental abuse, financial abuse, any kind of abuse that, it's silenced and it doesn't receive much communication or discussion in the church, which I think is very important and should be. So be on the alert, be ready, because it's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
She said, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. You know, when you put out a good book and it's real good, and you get to like, if you ever read a book and you get to the end and it's so good, and you be like, whoo, that's what you're doing to people right now.
Yes, yes.
Now they're ready for the next book. They were like, listen, this took me a year to write. You got to give me some time.
Right. They say the next one always gets easier, so I'm hoping that is the case, but you know, I got to get at it.
Yeah, it's going to be easier, but thank you so much for coming and supporting me on my journey, and you got my support. So if there's anything that I can do to help further your story, your mother's story, your book, anything, just reach out to me and let me know.
I will do. Thank you so much again for having me.
You're welcome. And thank you so much to everybody else out there that's watching this amazing episode. Listen, she said she had several people to read this book. So that tells you what? It's good. So y'all need to go and try to purchase that book. I love it when, you know, you can write a story, especially about your parents, because you don't know. I hear my mom tell a story about her life and the things she went through and how much bread costs and how much soda, all these different things. You be like, what? How much she literally worked for like $2 and some change. So when you hear those stories from your parents, it makes you want to tell the story. So please, please, please make sure you go support her journey, because listen, we got to do it together. Winning together is easier together. It's easier. So I hope today's conversation has reminded you that your voice matters. Your story can inspire others. Don't forget to subscribe, like this episode, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Keep speaking your truth, embracing your journey, and what else? Breaking the silence. Because guess what? The world needs who? You and your story. So until next time, let's stay focused out there. Later.
Better days, slowly but surely it's a better space. That'll waste my mind, so I meditate till I levitate. I elevate when I learn not to hesitate. No more, keep moving forward. Chase my goals and focus more towards it. Hate the lows, but I need those to flourish. Place my goals in front, that's what's important. So I ask myself what inspires me. Breaking out of my shell, feeling yo shot quiet me, and now I'm breaking the silence like I'm nicking the cold. Let's go. Promise you gon' see better. Hey, gotta keep going till you see them. Promise you gon' see better. Hey, you gotta keep going till you see them.